Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Counselor's Couch 101. It's 101 to distinguish it from all the other Counselor's Couch podcasts on YouTube. That's why that's there. It's also like the beginning of something you go to college, first class is a 100 class, 101. The most common complaint we get in counseling sessions these days, ever since COVID, is anxiety, which leads to depression. So depression and anxiety, they go hand in hand. Often we feel like they're two sides of the same coin, right? And people want to know what to do about it. Oftentimes people go to their medical doctor and they ask for medications, and doctors seem quite ready to pass out those prescriptions. And then for some people, the prescriptions work really well, and they're glad they have it, and they say that their life is so much better because they feel better, and they've leveled out their emotional landscape. I think it has to do with the body chemistry or something. I'm not an expert on any of this, but that's my guess, is that it's leveling out the body chemistry, and a person feels like they're normal, or they feel like they can cope with life or do things that they were having trouble doing with before. But for a lot of people, they either say they don't like medications at all, or they say the medications don't help them, they don't do anything, or they don't like the side effects, right? Medications can cause different sorts of side effects. They can, give you an upset stomach and keep you awake or make you too sleepy. All sorts of things can happen to people. Some people say they got a dull head, they can't think clearly, whereas other people say they think great. So it depends on the person. So you try out the medication. If it doesn't work and you're still depressed and you're still anxious, you end up in a counseling room or a counseling session, and you're asking for methods to cope with the type of symptoms that you're having. Now, the number one thing most people do, well, let me back up one step. The basic idea is distraction, right? When we're depressed or when we're anxious, we're responding to something that's going on in our head. We're responding to our thinking. It's not in real life. I've met with many people who were having panic attacks around issues of health. They thought that their health wasn't right. The doctors would check them out and say, hey, you took a treadmill test, you took all these other tests, you're fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. But the person doesn't believe it, because in their mind, they're thinking something else. They're thinking, there's something wrong with my body. I can feel it, right? But it's not real. It's in the head. So the idea is, when we're dealing with depression or anxiety, we want to change the way we're thinking in the head. And the number one idea behind that is distraction. Stop thinking about this and start thinking about something else, right? If we can put our attention on something other than the thing that's scaring us, we can come out of the panic or the depression or the anxiety. At least that is the theory, right? Number one thing people like to do is exercise. People tell me they go to the gym, they work out really, really hard. And other people say it's exercise, but not to that extreme. What they like to do is to take a walk. They find a nice quiet place. Around here, we go down walking down by the beach or in a park or up in the paths, up in the hills, and etc. in nature, and it calms them down just by moving the body. Other people don't have that kind of time, and so in the middle of the day, when they do find a few minutes, they walk up and around the block maybe, or whatever's available to them. Some people say they walk around their condominium complex, their apartment complex, whatever's available and easy to access and safe to do, right? Get out and walk, move your body. That's probably the number one answer across the board that most people say helps them, is walking, right? Other people, it's exercise. The harder the exercise, the better. But there's a lot of other things that people can do to distract themselves away from thinking about their anxiety, their depression, or their panic, right? And in that case, it's a person by person basis. I always explore what the person what the lifestyle of the person I'm talking to, what they like to do, the kinds of things that might they found in the past that distracts them from the panic or the anxiety, right? So we just talk about various things that they might enjoy and might help, and we come up with various ideas. And I tell folks, I said, you know, it's like collecting a bag of tricks, right? You find as many things as possible that you can use when you're feeling depressed or anxious, right? I'm saying, which one do you use at a particular time? Use the one that works, because maybe a walk today is going to help you, but tomorrow it'll be something else that will help you, because the walking doesn't distract you enough because you've done it too much or something. You've done it too much, or there's not enough novelty in the places you walk, things like that. So we're looking for other things to do. Now, what can be done? A lot of people tell me different ideas. One person told me that they binge watch Netflix. I don't have Netflix, but they binge watch Netflix or some other streaming movie station, and that brings them out of it. So other people have told me that they like to read. They'll pick up a novel. The trashier, the easier to read type of a novel, and they blast through that. Some people do the Sudoku, right? Fill out the little puzzles. Some people do word search. One lady told me that she would buy these big fat books of word search, and she would do that and bring her out of whatever she's thinking is bothering her. Crossword puzzles, any sort of a puzzle or something that causes you to concentrate on something other than what you're thinking. The whole idea is they want to overpower your thinking. One thing that was way back when, it was an old type of suggestion, was to wear a rubber band around your wrist, right? Then what you do is you pull the rubber band and snap it. Now, you're supposed to snap it hard enough that it isn't fun, it isn't pleasant, right? And you're thinking about, wow, that hurt. And that causes you to think about that as opposed to whatever's in your brain. Now, sometimes people say they're snapping it all day long. It doesn't do them any good, right? So I say, okay, then at that point, we're going to try something else. Another little trick is to look around the room and notice something that you haven't noticed before, or notice something that you have noticed before, and say out loud all the facets of it. So let's say you look around the room and you say, there's a painting on the wall, right? I never noticed it before, but there's a lot of greenery in the background, and there's a shadowing inside the big, huge knot hole that the squirrel is sitting in, right? Just start noticing things about it and saying it out loud. There's a computer monitor behind me. It has a tag at the top to cover the Chinese observing me through the little, what do they call it? Chinese are observing me through the camera on the computer set, right? There's a lady over in Washington, D.C. said that she woke up in the middle of the night and her television set was looking at her. So there you go. It's all going over to China. So we notice those kinds of things. There's a tag up there to cover that TV camera there on the set. I look around the room. I have stacks of books everywhere. Let's see what else I can find. That behind me is a bulletin board, right? I used to tack up different things that I was involved in the day, and that's become less useful to me over time because things changed. But back in the day when I put it up there, it was very convenient. I could look at that board and read all the different items on there. There would be posters and bills and notes and things I had to send in, correspondence, whatever I'd put on the board. Could look at that. I could look at the curtains. I could look outside the window and tell somebody what's happening. All these things are meant to distract. All right. So walking is number one. Get out and walk and notice things along the way as you're walking. If there's a pet out there, a dog or a cat or whatever, and you can pet it, that helps. Being with animals help. People say they sit with their cat and they pet their cat, and that calms them down. They stop thinking about whatever's crazy in their head, right? The basic idea is distraction. Just remember that. Anything you can do to distract from what you're thinking. Another one, a big one that's been around forever. People say, throw yourself into your work, right? When people suffer a loss, there have been a lot of that lately, and they want to sort of get beyond it. They throw all their attention into their work and they keep going until the pain of the loss passes by. That's another form of distraction, is focusing on work, right? Focusing on projects. I've said this before and I get a lot of criticism, but another idea came up the other day, is something I used to do and still do, is watercolors, right? I am a terrible artist, I admit it, and I've placed copies of the things I've drawn and painted over the years and like that. I put it online and show it to people, and they tell me how bad it is, and I say, yeah, I know. It's not the point of whether or not I can sell my art for $100,000, right? It's the idea that I get my mind off what's bothering me at the time that I'm doing the drawing or the painting or whatever it is. That's the point of it, is to distract your mind off of something that's bothering you. So if that helps you do it, take up drawing. Just get a pad of paper, or you can get a piece of paper and a pencil and just start drawing. Take your mind off of whatever's going on. Anyway, the reason I'm telling you all this is because I'm speaking with a gentleman these days, and he's encouraging me to publish a little book on how to deal with anxiety and depression, right? He says tricks and tips about how to deal with anxiety and depression, right? And he says I should make it funny, right? I should give a suggestion and a funny little drawing next to it, and like that. It should be a short book. It should be inexpensive, and and he says he thinks it would help a lot of people. So he's always telling me, he says, hop out of depression, right? He's always saying that to me. Hop out of it. Figure some way to jump out of where you are mentally and emotionally and get in a better state. So that's what he wants to call the title of the book, Hop Out of Depression, right? I don't know if that's a good title or not, but it's an idea. I don't want anyone to confuse this with another project that I have going on, and people are reading for me right now. That's an entirely different project. That's not this particular book. So if you have any ideas about how to deal with depression and anxiety, please leave them below or send them to me in an email. And if I can use your name, let me know. If not, I can use the idea, let me know. Might get published in a book one of these days. Email address, of course, is counselorscouch101@mail.com. counselorscouch101@mail.com. If you have any ideas or suggestions for that. And, I'm always looking for new ideas. I tell folks to say, if you can give me a new idea, a thought that I hadn't had before, and something that we haven't done that might work, I can pass that information on to other people, and you'll be benefiting them. So consequently, I look for those kinds of suggestions. Please send them in. They are always welcome. And if you have any ideas or suggestions or desire for any other sort of a topic that you would like to see addressed, and maybe get some ideas on how to cope with a particular situation, put that in the comments down below or send me an email, and we'll address it as we go into the future. I'm hoping you're all having a great summer and things are going well for you, and I'm hoping you enjoying your families and getting out more. I think the COVID crisis maybe finally is passing by, and people are starting to emerge from their cubby holes like I'm in mine, and go out and start living life again. Get out and socialize, be around people. By the way, that's another good suggestion. Here's two more. Get around people, socialize, and talk to folks, even if it's only on the phone, right? Just talk to people. It can help you out of depression. It can help you out of anxiety. Now, in the past, I think I've mentioned this, but the idea is you call up a friend and say, look, just talk about anything. I don't care what it is. And the whole idea is we're going to distract our mind, get our mind off of negative thinking and possibly onto positive thinking, because whatever the person's talking about often has to do with other human beings, right? So we're thinking of other people in other situations. Stop worrying about whatever nonsense is going on in their head, right? And if a friend is a friend and gets you and understands that, they will do that, right? They know what you need is distraction, and they'll provide it for you if they have the time, right? That's when people are truly stepping up and being a friend. So socialize. I don't care how you do it. You can go to the park and walk around and talk to strangers. I don't care. That works. You can talk to your friends, right? On the cell phone or in person, or go meet them, go have coffee, whatever. Do things, get involved, get out of your cubby hole, get out into the world, stop thinking about what's going on. Describe something that, in detail that you haven't noticed before. That's a good distraction. Snap a rubber band if that's going to work for you. Some people used to pinch themselves. Whatever. If you have more suggestions on how to distract from depression and anxiety, please leave them below. As I say, it really does help other people because I share this information with people I talk to. So anyway, thanks for dropping by. I'm always glad to talk with you, and I look forward to talking with you next time. Have a blessed week.